factoring by grouping. So we're going to factor by grouping when you have 4 terms. So this is going to come in handy later on next semester. But we're also going to look at it for factoring our quadratics. I don't want, like I said, give you one way of factoring quadratics and then different if we change the x to the 3 or 4 or 10 or 20. We're going to factor everything the same, okay? So first, you want to factor out your GCF first, if there is one. Oh, factor out the GCF of the first 2 terms. So that's what it means by grouping. We're going to group the first 2 terms and factor that one, and then we're going to factor the second 2 terms. So number 2 is we're going to factor out the GCF of the second 2 terms, and then the inside one is going to be one of your factors, and the outside one is going to be the other factor. And then we're going to check it. Okay, what does that mean? Doesn't really make much sense. So we are going to group the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms, and we're going to look at them individually first. So let's factor out the greatest common factor of the first 2 terms. This one is a little bit different because we got 2 variables. So what is the factors of x and y? Well, that's just x and y. What are the factors of 3y? That's just 3y. So what is our greatest common factor here? Well, each of these have a y. So that's just our greatest common factor. So when I take out y, x times y divided by y, we're going to be left with x on the inside, 3 plus 3y divided by y. We're just going to be left with that 3 on the inside. Okay, greatest common factor of negative 9x minus 27. So we've got 9. Those factors are 3 and 3. We've got 27. That's 3 and 9. And that's 3 and 3. Okay, what do we got? We have a 3 here, and with a 3 here, and a 3 here, with a 3 here. There's a 3 with 27, but not another one with 29, so that's not one of our factors. So our greatest common factor is 3 times 3, which is 9. This negative sign needs to travel with that 9, so I'm going to pull out the negative 9. So when I take negative 9x divided by negative 9, that just leaves me with x on the inside. When I take negative 27 divided by negative 9, that leaves me with positive 3 on the inside. Okay, so this is what 3 means. One of our factors, you see that, come on, this factor, this is the same as this inside. That means that that is one of our factors. We're only going to put one of those for our answer. Okay, so the inside is one of our factors. That's what that means. And then the outside, what's left over out here, is our other factor, so y minus 9. So the factor of our example, the factors of our example is x plus 3 times y minus 9. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's group these 2 and group these 2. Find the greatest common factor, okay? Greatest common factor between 2 and 16 is going to be 2. And look at the variables. Each one of them, each term has x as at least one x as a variable, so we can pull that x out. So 2x squared divided by 2x, that's an x on the inside, plus, because plus 16x divided by 2x is 8. And then what's the greatest common factor between x plus 8? There's not 1, so we're going to make it just 1 because 1 times anything is itself. So when I take x divided by 1, that just leaves me with x. When I take positive 8 divided by positive 1, that leaves me with positive 8. So our factors on the inside are the same, so that is one of our factors. Then we look at the outside, that is our other factor. How do I check this? How do I see if this is right? Well, remember the factors we're just multiplying, and if I multiply these out or expand them, then I should end up with this. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 1 is just a positive x. Then we got to distribute this 8 both places. So 8 times 2x is plus 16x. 8 times 1 gives me x. Is this the same thing? It is. These are our factors. Okay, let's look at one more example here. These are groups. Actually, let's do this one instead. These are our groups. Okay, so 4n squared plus 3n. Between the numbers 4 and n, there's no common factor. I'm going to go ahead and make my tree for my n squared so we can see, and my n. So n squared is just n times n, and then n is just n. So what's our greatest common factor here? Well, there's one n here and one n here. There's this n, but it doesn't match up with another n. So that means that our greatest common factor here is just our variable of n. So I'm going to do this on the side too. What I'm saying in words, this is what I'm doing in my head. I'm taking that first term, 4n squared, and dividing it by that n that I've pulled out. Because remember, we're just figuring out what will multiply to get something. So then the opposite of that is dividing. So remember this 4n squared is really 4 times n. And when I divide, I get rid of that one variable. So 4n. So then over here, I've got 3n divided by that n. Well, that n marks out that n, so I'm just left with positive 3. Okay. What's our greatest common factor for negative 8n minus 6? Let's look at, we got 8. Those factors are 2 and 4, 2 and 2. 6, we got 2 and 3, and that's it. Let's see what we got in common. We've got this 2 here, that matches up with this 2. We got a 2 over here, doesn't match up with anything else. 2 doesn't match up, 3 doesn't match up. So our greatest common factor we're pulling out is a 2. Because this number is negative, I'm going to pull out a negative 2. So what am I doing here to get the inside of our parentheses? I'm taking taking 8n divided by negative 2. 8 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 8 divided by negative 2. Sorry, positive 4n. Don't know why. Okay. And we got on the inside negative 6 divided by negative 2, and that is positive 3. When I'm looking to see what's on the inside here, I keep with the negatives here. That's what Took me too long to think about. Okay, so 4n plus 3 is one of our factors. And this outside here, n minus 2 is our other factor. And you can check it by multiplying those two out. Let me know if you have questions on factoring by grouping.